This is going to be a tutorial that explains to you how you're going to go about creating the movie poster. First off, you're going to decide on what poster you want to do. One of the requirements is that you choose a poster that has at least 2 figures in it. So it doesn't matter if there's more than that, but you definitely can't have less than that. It needs to have at least 2. So here's an example where we took just 2 images of people, but certainly you could go a little bit more complex. These are the movie posters from the trimester movie posters. So here's one where all the students were included, and it was Shutter Wars instead of Star Wars. But it really depends on how complex you want to get, whether you do complexity through the number of people that are included in your project, or if you do complexity with all the images that are added into the background. So here's again is the poster that we're going to try to recreate. It has a lot of added imagery that we're going to be adding in besides just the people. So here's the person who's standing holding their hands up. That'll be the first image that we bring into the movie poster. So let's go ahead and get started here. Alright, so go File, New. You're going to create your own size here based on the template that we want to use. So the width is going to be 20. The height is going to be 30, and your resolution should be high. We might as well just go 100. From there, we're going to bring in the original poster into the space and stretch it to fit. So here's the original poster. Just make sure you can see it at the same time as Photoshop. Drag it right in. Hold Shift as you begin to resize it to fill the space. And center it in. You can use the keyboard arrows to center things. We can always change the opacity on this layer to see through it to what we're creating below it, or even just hit the eyeball to make it visible or invisible. But that'll be the basis for as we bring anything else in. So next we're going to bring in our person picture, and we'll start with a standing person who's holding their hands up in the air. So drag the picture on in. On your keyboard, you're going to be using Control plus and Control minus to zoom in and zoom out in particular parts of the picture. So to start with, I'm going to move to my Quick Select tool, and I'm going to work with a smaller brush. Remember, the bracket keys on the keyboard can increase the size or decrease the size of the brush. So I'm going to go along and start selecting, go along the center of the person, and work your way out towards the edge. And Photoshop is going to help to snap to edges of things. If you selected more than what you want, hold Alt on the keyboard and it will change to a minus, and you can deselect areas that you don't want selected. So continue to move along the person. It's important that they don't necessarily have the same color as the backdrop that you're using. Here I had a gray backdrop and a gray shirt, so that it's a little bit harder to select along the edges. And we're going to go ahead and move right along here and select all the fingers of the hand and the arm. And we'll fast forward here a little bit until we're ready to start doing the next step. Alright, next we're going to click the Refine Edge button, and you saw that right at the top of your screen. I increased the edge detection and hit Smart Radius on there. And then I like to increase the contrast a little bit in the Adjust Edge feature there. Now what you're seeing me do is paint right along the edge of the hair. If I do that, I'm going to then want to click Decontaminate Colors and do New Layer with Layer Mask. And this is going to be a way for me to further select the hair and have that just be a perfect selection. So now it's got a brand new layer, got the original layer right below if I need to go back to it, but there's our layer mask. Remember, you can always paint black to make things disappear on the layer mask, or paint white to bring them back if you happen to make a mistake. So now I'm going to resize. So I did Control T on my keyboard, held Shift while I dragged one of the edges, and I'm trying to line it up exactly with where the person is on the movie poster. Their perspective is a little bit different than ours, so I'll just make do with what I've got and adjust my perspective to make it, have it make sense. So I'll have a platform that's a slightly different size than what they were going with. So next we're going to do the same exact thing with the next person. So I'll do a fast view through here on the selections, so that way you can just move right along. As you're resizing, you might find that you need to work with some of the other features within the free transform. Hold off to the edge and you can turn the person. You can also right click within there and adjust things further doing one of the other types of transformations. When you're in free transform, you can right click to do one of the other options. So here I'm doing a little bit of a perspective transformation. You can also do something called skew. I'm basically just adjusting and warping the person just a little bit to have them fit a little bit better with how I want them to relate to the original figure. So zoom in if you need to, and you can see how close you got on things. For this next section here, I was creating a new layer of just the hand so I can move that into place, and then I layer masked away the area of the arm that I didn't need. From there, I was just going through and fixing anything within the layer mask that I thought I needed to, and then I was going to move on to my next thing, which is to create the shadow. So I first started by creating a new layer, and on that layer I moved it below the person. I moved over to the brush, made sure I was on black, and now I'm going to work with a really soft brush and start painting in where I think the shadow should be with the hand and the arm on the person. So again, I made sure that there's a 0% hardness on the brush and moving right along here to create that shadow. Now, after you create something on a layer like this, the reason we have it on its own layer is so that we can move it around as we need to and also change its opacity to have it make more sense for how things should look. So I added shadows wherever I needed to, and then I lowered the opacity down on the layer to have it make sense.